name is Constance Mumley, and the purpose of this podcast is to scatter sunshine, hence the name Scatter Sunshine Podcast. Today's topic is going to be a mix of a couple things. I don't really have a solid topic, but I'm going to be talking about finding joy in the little things, a little bit of maybe how you could stay in contact with your friends during this crazy time, and in the future if you guys are ever separated, and just stuff like that. So cool. So let's start with staying in contact with your friends. There's the easy things, yes, text them, call them, FaceTime them, yeah, obviously. But sometimes your friends can be kind of sporadic and don't answer their phones. I know that I definitely do that sometimes. So in cases like that, you can always do something different. Obviously you can spam them, but be nice about it because you don't want them to not contact you ever again because you annoyed them because you spammed them. But you can spam them on Snapchat, so just send a bunch of dorky videos, a bunch of dorky pictures, just showing your awesome, unique, dorky self. You can spam them with text messages and be like, hey, hello, where are you? Hi, hi, hi. Again, don't go too far because that gets annoying really quickly, but it can also be entertaining if you do it right. Another thing you can do to stay in contact with your friends, do something unique, because there's all of the normal stuff that you can do, and of course that stuff is great, but it doesn't obviously replace the experience of being in person, right? So you can do stuff me and my best friend do this all the time, have conversations in GIFs or GIFs, whatever you call them. So instead of actually sending messages, you have a full-on conversation with just sending GIFs/GIFs to each other. It's really funny, actually. Me and my best friend do it all the time. Finding joy in the little things. So I feel like this is something that a lot of people take for granted. So not take for granted, but it's for a lot of people it comes naturally and they just do it. And then for other people it doesn't occur to them and so they don't do it. So I feel like this is something that requires effort and thought, but not as much as you think it would. So finding joy in the little things comes super naturally for me. Everyone finds me weird because of it, but I love it. I think it's so funny. So it's when you find a little bug or a ladybug or a roly-poly or something and you talk to it. I do that all the time. It's so cute. I love them. They're adorable, right? You gotta be oh, look at this little ladybug and find the joy that comes from that teeny tiny little ladybug, you just have to appreciate everything instead of focusing on the big stuff and on the major things that are happening in your life. If you start focusing also on all the tiny things that are happening in your life, you will find that you are so much happier all the time because there is always stuff going on that can make you happy. Even in circumstances where you're frustrated or sad, there is always something. I can guarantee you there is always something there that you can find that will make you happy. So don't look over everything that's happening. I know a lot of times life gets really overwhelming and it's hard to focus on everything that you need to focus on, and that's okay if you need to take a step back and just focus on one thing at a time. Even within everything, if it's a big thing, there is still little things inside of it that can make you smile or that can make you laugh, even if it isn't a big low belly laugh that lasts 10 minutes. It's still a little giggle or a smile, that can make or break your day. So just try to focus on the things, on all the positive things. I say that a lot, but it's so true. If you spend your time focusing on the positive things, it's really hard to turn around and focus on the negative things just because you're so used to focusing on the positive things that the negative things don't really impact you. So that's what I got. You gotta be positive. You gotta look at the positive things. You've gotta be dorky. Don't be afraid to be yourself. This is a great time to focus on who you are and who you want to be and all the great and all the amazing attributes about yourself that a lot of times you overshadow or other people overshadow because you want to fit into the mold of society. So you just don't do that. Like, it's okay to be different, it's okay to be unique, and it makes you so much more interesting, and it just gives other people a lot more to love about you when you are yourself than when you're the stereotype, you know? So, yeah, do that. It's gonna be good. Here you go. Let's get to some jokes. I have one from my brother, which is really funny. And you have to think about it a little bit, because you have to think about it. So if you don't understand it, email me and I'll explain it to you, but I'm not going to explain it to you right now because I feel like that kind of ruins the joke. But here it is. It goes, the opposite of formaldehyde is casual to Jekyll. I love it. Okay, it says, shout out to the people that don't know what the opposite of in is. I saw a sign that said falling rocks, so I tried and it doesn't. Oh, that's funny. Today I gave up my seat to an old blind lady on the bus. That's how I lost my job as a bus driver. Oh, yeah. What did one cell say to his sister cell that stepped on his toe? Mitosis. Oh, that's funny. This one's just kind of cute, but also funny. It says, my toddler baby is watching a storm out the front window. She says, quiet, quiet, kaboom coming. Huge crack of thunder. She whispers, I did it. Here you go. This is what someone said. It says their 10-year-old. Mom, what's a metaphor? Me, my life is a train wreck. The 10-year-old, I know, Mom, but what is a metaphor? Oh my gosh. Okay, so it says, offered to take in another dad's cart at Costco and asked if he left any gas in it. He said half a tank and that it is warmed up for me. That's all we said. Just two dads out here killing it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, this one is hilarious. So it says, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were going camping. They pitched their tent under the stars and went to sleep. Sometime in the middle of the night, Holmes woke Watson up and said, Watson, look up at the sky and tell me what you see. Watson replied, I see millions and millions of stars. Holmes said, and what do you deduce from that? Watson replied, well, if there are millions of stars and if even a few of those have planets, it's quite likely that there are some planets like Earth out there. And if there are a few planets like Earth out there, there might also be life. And Holmes said, Watson, you idiot, it means that somebody stole our tent. Funny. Okay, here's another one. It's kind of a long story one, but it's funny. It says, I just remembered this time I was telling a story to a friend, and it was clear she wasn't listening to me, so I started making up this huge, gruesome story about a cult murder I had witnessed, while she sat there nodding along to my dramatic moral struggle about whether or not I should come forward, and then I looked up to see the table next to us looked utterly horrified, and long story short, that's why I should remember other people have ears. Oh goodness. It says, I have a habit of being too casual everywhere, so one time while I was working, I accidentally said, what's crack-a-lackin' to an old woman looking for medication, and she replied, my bones, dear. Oh my goodness, that is so funny. I burned like 3/4 of my arm on the oven while I was making chicken, and my mom was like, honey, put some butter on it, it draws the heat out. So she was rubbing a stick of butter on my arm, and my stepdad was like, what's for dinner? As he walked in and saw her slathering my arm in butter, and he just slowly backed away. That's funny. Fun fact, my mom says that actually doesn't work, so if you get burned, don't put butter on it. It says, you know what's kind of weird? Some people name cats Whiskers. That's a cat's body part. That's so wild. I'm gonna name my son Leg. Funny. Ooh, this one's pretty funny too. It says, my dad has a doppelganger named Eric. For years, people have been coming up to him thinking he was Eric. Sometimes people get a whole conversation going while my dad stands there politely wondering why this stranger is talking to him before they stop, wide-eyed, and realize you're not Eric. None of us have ever seen Eric, but we know he's out there. Sometimes a couple years will go by without an Eric incident and we worry, but then my dad will come home like, good news guys, Eric's still alive. I met his cousin today. Okay, it says there's a suspect and a cop, and it just switches off. So the suspect says, I ain't talking. The cop sharpens his knife. We got ways of making people talk. And then he cuts a piece of cake, and the suspect says, can I have some? And the cop says, cake is for talkers. Okay. It says, oh, so when other people call their pets fur baby, it's fine. But when I call a kid a skin dog, somehow I'm disgusting and the worst pediatrician in this hospital. Funny. Okay, that's it for jokes. I'm sorry it's not what jokes are normally like, but I've got to do more research. Which is why you guys should email me your dad jokes so I can read them. My email for this podcast is scattersunshinepodcast@gmail.com. So please email me. I really do want to hear from you guys, and I'm really bad at coming up with topics for podcasts. So you should give me your ideas of what you want me to talk about. Send me some dad jokes because I'm running out over here. And yeah, so cool. Have an amazing week. Forgot. What was it? Oh my goodness. What was it? It's like right there. It's on the tip of my tongue. Ouch. I got an email. It says, I have a habit of being too casual everywhere. So, ooh, let me start over. It says, oh, this one's hilarious. It says, I burned like 3/4 of my arm on the oven while I was making chicken, and my mom was like, honey, put some butter on it. Blah, blah, blah. I burned. Sweet Caroline. Ba, ba, ba.